we're back. So the first section I want to talk about in the branding section is just kind of a general overall of what is a brand and why do you as an individual need it. This is one of my favorite sections. Anybody who knows me probably has a very corny story about how I handed them a business card and told them my life story in 30 seconds. But it's really important for you to build your personal network and for you to start to understand how you can actually reach a lot of people through some new technologies. So when we first think of branding, you might think of Old Spice, the little do-do-do-do-do-do-do, we all know that song. And we might always associate branding with products. And that really is the first step towards to creating a campaign or really figuring out a brand is what is the product? And in this case, the product is you. You should spend a lot of time thinking about who you are. What do you want to be known as? What fields are you really interested in being an expert in and how you want other people to perceive you? Because branding is all about perception. It is the who you know, but very quickly it's what you know. So if someone happens to see a tweet you sent out, what's the quickest way they can find out more information about you? Or maybe they recognized you because they saw that same photo of you somewhere else, whether it was a profile picture or whether it was a design or a business card. So think about you as the product. How are you going to perceive yourself and really sit and think, all right, I want to be known as this, or I really want to do this, and here's how I'm going to get there. I need to start communicating with these people. I need to start building a network. And a brand really helps. There are a lot of elements to a brand, product being the first, but you also have fonts and colors and logos and that sort of thing. And you would say, well, why do I need a logo for myself? Well, a logo for yourself could really be as simple as just having the same picture as a profile picture across all networks. Find that photo that you absolutely love of yourself, probably not doing a cake stand at a party, probably something a little bit more professional. But you've seen mine all over Canvas and all over Twitter is just me taking a selfie behind a waterfall in Iceland. I love that picture. I travel a lot. It says a lot about me. And it's just, I'm really happy. I also take a lot of selfies. I've been taking corny selfies for about 5 years now. But anyway, that's known because if you go on any social network, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, you'll see that same photo. The brain processes an image 60,000 times faster than it processes text. So as you're scrolling through Twitter, when you see the Disney D or the New York Times N or a CBS logo or really any logo, you're going to instantly recognize that as something that you're familiar with. You want that same effect to happen with people looking at you on your social networks. A couple other things we could go off to is kind of your product about yourself, but on top of that, think about if there was a 30 seconds of how you could pitch yourself to someone, how would you do that? In 30 seconds, how could you get someone excited to want to work with you? It requires passion, but it requires you to really have an idea of who you are and what you want to do. As you start to build all of these different elements of your brand online through Twitter and through Facebook and through LinkedIn, start thinking about kind of your cohesive product and start thinking about how people can recognize you from each of these networks. Whether that's a specific font set that you use, a specific color scheme you use, your business card should match your letterhead, should match your invoices, should match your website, should match the color of your background on your Twitter page. And I know all of this sounds very trivial, but at the end of the day, if you put that much care and that much work into the details of the font on your cover letter that you hand to someone that happens to match your website, an employer is going to really see that you care a lot about what you do in your product. All of this kind of wraps up into your extension. Your extension is, let's just say you are on Twitter and you tweet something and someone says, well, let me pull up your profile. Well, when they pull up your profile on Twitter, they usually only see your last 2 or 3 tweets. Can someone really understand who you are just by your bio and your last 2 or 3 tweets? It's why kind of the rule of tweeting consistently is really important. If Twitter is just being used as a conversation between you and your friends, that's great. But I wouldn't count on that being your kind of backbone of your social network for your professional brand. Really think about if you're going to be known as a broadcaster of this information or as an expert on this type of corporate communication, that you're retweeting others, that you're really seeing yourself as a hub of knowledge. Because essentially, if I see something interesting about you, I'm going to want to find out more. And that's our last step in this first lecture on branding is making sure you create a space where people can find out more about you. This can be a simple WordPress page. Squarespace is one of my favorite services to use. create a website for yourself. It's very simple. Even if that website is just your portfolio, your resume and cover letter, and a contact information, you want a home base for all of those other social networks: Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Ello. There's probably 3 more that popped up as we started this lecture. You want that home base for someone to find out more about you and where they can get in touch with you. It's really, really important to kind of have that central location. So at the end, branding is all about you. It's about your product, you, and it's about how you're perceived online. I like to think of this as kind of a blind date. Maybe you've been on a blind date, you have a friend that says, hey, I got this friend, you got to meet him or her, he or she's great, they like this, they do that, it's awesome, and then you get there and they could be awesome or they could be not awesome. Well, think about that. If you want to build up this perception online, you want those two to match. You want that to sound like someone's pitching you to someone else. Oh man, this Steve Johnson guy, I've seen his tweets. He's tweeting photos. He's been, he's doing these things. I think he really has a good head on his shoulders. Well, I hope I do, because if that person reaches out to me and I don't know anything, clearly I've been lying online. You want to make sure those match as much as possible, that you're creating that similar persona. So to wrap things up, start to build your Twitter pages, your LinkedIn pages, and even your bio on your Facebook page, Facebook being the most personal out of all of them, to start to represent kind of a cohesive story. Can you really in 30 seconds explain who you are and what you want to do? And can you really in 2 or 3 sentences describe what your expertise are, really sell yourself? This is vitally important as you start to put all these pieces together, as you start to meet mentors and meet professionals in the field and really get to know them. They're going to say, hey, I spent the day with this person that shadowed me. They're really sharp. We should really look at them for an internship. And their boss's boss might say, all right, what's their contact info? Do they have a website? Do they have a portfolio? Do they have their work together? That's really important for you to make that as easy as possible for them to find out as much information as they can, ultimately to hire you. I hope this has been helpful. We've got 2 more lectures of branding, and then we're wrapping up. Semester's already starting to come to a close. Hope everyone's having a great time, and I will see you next time.